Hey, Vic, you had four guys not practice today. Could you give me updates on Fant, Vanette, Chubb, and Devontae Harris?
Yeah, Vanette is in the concussion protocol. He'll be out for the next few days because of that. Devontae has a knee contusion that's bugging him. Noah was sick today, not COVID sick, normal sick, and that's what he's got. Bradley was ready to go today. He could have practiced. I just decided to give him the day off there.
Okay. And then as a follow-up on today's practice, tight ends caught a lot of passes. How tight end friendly can Pat Shurmur's offense be for these guys?
As friendly as they merit getting the ball thrown to them. They got to get open. A lot of things go into that. You know, their talent, their ability, the rest of the ability around them. If guys are getting extra attention, tight ends can come open. Tight ends in the red zone always can be a good threat. So a lot of things go in that, but we're not against throwing it to tight ends by any means.
Brandon Cristal, go ahead, please.
Vic, what's the challenge with highly drafted rookies, guys like Judy and Cushenberry, to get them work with the ones but not just give it to them when, you know, it's obvious that they're going to play with the ones, especially someone like Judy? How do you balance that as a coach to have these guys earn it but get them enough reps with that group?
Well, you just try and balance it. Those guys are getting reps with the ones at times during practice. You know, we don't always stay to the same 11 guys with the ones. You know, we'll start a drill with ones, but if you keep watching, sometimes those guys get mixed in. So, you know, they got to show it. They got to earn it. And, you know, with the shortened training camp, obviously, we'll have to get our Ouija board out and do some predicting too. So it's a little bit of everything there, but definitely never wanted to give anybody a job.
Next up, Arnie Stapleton, go ahead.
Hey, Vic, you talked a little bit earlier this week about Jake Butt, but I'm wondering, as you look at that group of tight ends, how do you think Alberto, what kind of impression has he made on you early on here and the rest of the room as well?
Albert's done good. You know, he's obviously he's got some good receiving abilities. We need to find out what kind of blocker he is. You know, and a big part of being a competent blocker is a mentality to want to block and not get, you know, because as a tight end, a lot of times when you do block, you're having to block good players. And, you know, and a good bit of that is want to and toughness. And, you know, we're trying to figure that out with him to see if he has that part of his game.
Next up, Jeff Legwell, go ahead.
Vic, I'm just curious, how does a young guy, undrafted rookie, how do they catch your eye with no preseason games?
Well, they're going to have to do it on the practice field. And the one thing is in their favor a little bit, and it's just a crumb. By no means is it a big thing. You know, we are down to 80 guys. And of those 80, 4 of them are, you know, snappers and kickers. So you're down to 76 football players. And so they are getting more reps than if we had 90 here, you know. So the reps are coming for them. They're just going to have to show it on the field quicker than guys in the past have. And obviously those guys would get a lot of playing time in preseason games, and that's not going to happen. You know, we'll practice as long as we can, according to the CBA, and get as many reps as we can. And they're going to have to speed it up. Okay? Like I told them, there's no red shirt years. You know, we want you to play.
Next up, Eric DeLalla, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, just wondering what your early impressions have been of Justin Strnad so far. He's been mixing in there at linebacker, but what do you like about his game and where does he need to improve before the season here?
Good. I've liked Justin so far. He shows ability both in the pass defense area. You know, the run game, we haven't had a lot of shots of it yet, but and the inside linebacker, just to piggyback on the previous set of questions, is a position that will suffer more than others with the lack of training camp time and the lack of preseason games. So, he's got a lot of work. We got to speed up the process with him. And, but overall, I think he's doing good, and I like what I see. And a lot of that is based upon just what I see, which enables me to predict. You might not be seeing it on tape or you guys watching it in practice live, but I like certain things that indicate to me that he'll be able to do it eventually.
Next up, Troy Rink, go ahead.
Coach, we talked to Mike Purcell yesterday. He knows you from different spots in Chicago and San Francisco, and he made an interesting point that he thinks you're more comfortable as head coach, more conversational. We see you getting your steps in every morning, talking to guys. I know you did stuff out of the season going to Nuggets guys. How much more is that part of like the job of being, the voice for all rooms, not just defense? Are you more comfortable now, I guess, is what I'm asking?
No, I'm the same as I was last year. I saw Mike's comment. Somebody said it to me, but Mike failed to mention to you guys that when I was the defensive coordinator in San Francisco, I was also coaching the linebackers. So, on the practice field, I didn't spend a lot of time talking to the other positions on defense. But as he also said in his statement, but come meeting time is when I do my talking. And you can't shut me up there. I'm a big believer that coaches sometimes talk too much on the practice field. It's time to watch the players play and find out what they know and don't know. You're not going to be out there on the field with them. So I'm not a big talker during practice because they're out there by themselves. They don't have a coach in there helping them on the field. So, and I think a lot of coaches at times are guilty of that. Let them play. I always have said practices are the quizzes. Games are the final exams, so don't help them during their quiz because you're not going to be able to help them during the final exam. So, but we help them tremendously in meetings.
Next up, Nick Kozmatter, go ahead, please.
Vic, I'm just curious what your overall impression of these rookies are in terms of, obviously they did not have what rookies have normally coming into the season with the off-season program, won't have preseason games, but what has just been your overall impression of how they have kind of handled it, that group to this point?
I think it's been good, in spite of everything that you mentioned. I think our coaches did a good job with the virtual stuff that we had in the off season. They did a good job with them, when we had them in here for the extra 4 or 5 days, whatever it was. And I think these guys have engaged themselves in the learning. I think they realize they've heard it enough from you guys and read it and heard it from other people that, hey, it's tough, going to be tough on the rookies with the condensed training camp and no preseason games. So I think they feel that urgency, and they've done a good job on their own, and their coaches have done a good job. So I've been impressed with where they are at this point, but I have to keep reminding myself that I think we only have 13 or 14 practices left before we're in game week for Tennessee. So we got to squeeze things in. It's many times when I'm making the script or installing, I get the feeling like we've only practiced 3 or 4 days and you think you can go slower. Then I got to remind myself to look at what's left and what's coming and how soon it is. So we got to find that fine balance every day.
Next up, Kyle Newman. Time for a few more after. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Vic. So Bosby and Yadam both involved in a couple different plays downfield today. What's your ongoing assessment of them? I know a few days ago you said there's no really distinction yet between those two and Harris in the battle for that quarterback spot, but how do you think they did today?
Well, I haven't been able to watch the tape yet, but I did see the plays you were alluding to. And I saw some good, some not so, but those 3 guys are tight. I can honestly say that none of them have pulled away from the other 2 yet. It's a real tight battle, and we're going to need at least 2 of those guys to surface and be a good part of this team and not just be part of the team by default. And that's going to be critical for us.
Last 2, Darren McKee, Mike Kliss. Darren, go ahead, please.
Coach, you mentioned that you only have 13, 14 practices left. Will one of those practices be a scrimmage?
We'll do some live tackling, live drills. I don't know that, a full practice will be a full-out scrimmage the entire 2.5 hours that we can be out there. We are planning a practice down in the stadium next week. We'll do some there. We're going to do some here this week. So we're going to constantly mix it in, but I don't think we'll have a full practice devoted to that, if that's what you're asking.
Last one, Mike, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Coach, on the offensive front, with the big unit there, we saw more of Cushenberry and Jake Rogers today. Just wondering your thoughts on how Cushenberry's coming along, and also was Rogers somewhat a function that Eli still needs a little more time with that ankle?
Yeah, I think Cushenberry's doing fine. One thing he's got going for him that a lot of rookies don't have going for them is he is smart. He's picking things up very well. He's calm at the line of scrimmage. As you know, the center has to make a lot of calls. And he excels at that. He's not a totally honed up machine on it right now, but we expect that he will be. So he's got that going for him. He's also got going for him that, he played a lot of big games at LSU, especially last year where they won it all, on the big stages. So I think that helps him too. And we're encouraged by him. It's a good battle between him and Austin and Pat. As far as Jake, Elijah's not getting his full share of the reps yet. It's more than, we're happy with where Elijah is coming off the ankle injury that he had in the offseason. So some of that's a product of Elijah's status, and some of it's a product of we just want to work guys in there. One of the things you always have to be cognizant of as a coach is to work guys in, not just always as the first team, second team, because guys are going to have on the second team are going to have to work with guys on the first team when an injury happens during the season. So we like to mix that in during practice.